Picking up our coverage on the big border watch story from World News Tonight amid a record rise in migrants at the southern border.
Yeah, top U.S. cabinet members meeting with the Mexican president today discussing U.S. immigration policy and ways to secure the southern border. Tonight, team coverage on the impact here in Arizona. We start with Josh Cristianto in the newsroom with what Mexico is asking in return. Josh.
That's right. The Mexican president says he wants to help, but also wants the U.S. to work on relations with Cuba and Venezuela, where many of the migrants are coming from. He also wants the feds to send more aid to those countries. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arriving in Mexico City Wednesday, talking border security with Mexico's president and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. U.S. officials currently monitoring a migrant caravan heading toward the southern border, consisting of as many as 6,000 people. Customs and Border Protection already arresting 10,000 migrants every day for the last few weeks, something many of our state's sheriffs have to deal with.
Mexico didn't really seem to get involved in these discussions until ports of entry and trade started being impacted with their country. And then it began impacting their economy.
Port of entry closures in Lukeville still making things hard for businesses relying on tourism. Travel blogger Kristen Haynes has been in Rocky Point for about a month.
There's a lot of Arizonans that have Airbnbs and condos that they rent out. So all those people are losing money every day that Lukeville is closed.
The White House blaming increased migration on political and economic turmoil in Central and South America. Two Arizona sheriffs blame President Biden's policies.
The meeting's probably not going to mean much if they're not talking about going after these cartels and stopping what we're dealing with.
The president has one thing at his disposal that he has refused to use, and that is to communicate clearly and unequivocally that the laws of this country will be enforced.
The Biden administration did clear the way for a new South Texas border wall in October, but those sheriffs we heard from say they need solutions now, not later. Back to you.
Josh, thank you. Our team coverage continues with new data showing a record number of migrant encounters in one part of Arizona. Now, we're also tracking border trends outside of the state. ABC15 data analyst Garrett Archer takes us inside the numbers.
Across the entire border, U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported over 242,000 migrants encountered this past November. It's the third highest monthly number ever, beaten only by this past September and December of last year. And reporting on the ground suggests that encounter numbers for this month will top this list. November may have only ranked third for the southwest border overall, but it was a record for Arizona's southern border by a wide amount. Nearly 75,000 migrant encounters reported, a 15% jump from last month, and a full 50% rise from November of last year. Almost a third of migrant encounters along the entire border occurred in Arizona, and that's up 10 points from this same time last year. And all of the increase is attributable to the Tucson sector, where monthly encounters have almost tripled since June, from 24,000 to 64,000. Encounters along the Yuma sector have gone the other way, declining 80% from last year's 31,000 encounters in December of 2022 to just over 6,000 this past November. The data is changing quickly as well. In 6 months, the number of encounters with families is rising much faster than the numbers with single adults encountered. Encounters with unaccompanied minors is also growing, rising from about 6,000 in June through August to 10,000 September through October. Along the Tucson sector, of the 5 nationalities encountered, the top 2 are Central American countries, Mexico and Guatemala. The next are countries that are not individually categorized. This is followed by Ecuador and then migrants from India. With a look inside the numbers, I'm Garrett Archer, ABC 15 Arizona.